Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive with us. This time, we're going to be looking at a paper that's all about, well, it's called Generative World Explorer. But really, it's about kind of rethinking how AI kind of perceives and interacts with the world around it.
Yeah, we're talking about AI that goes beyond just seeing its surroundings. It can actually mentally explore and imagine what lies beyond, its immediate field of view. It's really a big step towards more intelligent and autonomous AI.
It is, and it's kind of how we work as humans, right? I mean, like our understanding of the world is constantly evolving. And we're making predictions and planning our actions based on what we expect to see, not just what's right there in front of us. And that's the kind of capability that researchers are now trying to kind of build into AI.
Exactly. And the paper we're going to be exploring today, Generative World Explorer, or as they call it, Genex for
Yeah.
short, was developed by researchers at Johns Hopkins University. And it really tackles this problem of partial observability, which is a major challenge for what we call embodied AI agents like robots.
Okay, so for our listeners who maybe aren't as familiar with this, could you break down partial observability for us and why it's kind of a hurdle that AI needs to overcome?
Sure. So imagine you have a robot and it's navigating a complex environment, like let's say a busy city street. Well, it only has access to the information that it gets from its sensors, right? And those sensors only provide a limited view of what's around it. It can't see around corners or through walls, and that makes decision making really tricky.
Yeah, that makes sense. So how does Genex then kind of address this problem?
Well, Genex actually allows an AI agent to kind of mentally explore a 3D environment. And it does this by generating a video of what it would see if it moved in a specific direction. So instead of physically moving around, it can simulate that exploration, kind of like a virtual test drive for the AI.
So it's almost like giving AI a superpower, like it can see beyond its physical limitations. What are the key components that make this possible?
Well, Genex leverages these video diffusion models,
Hmm.
which is a type of generative AI. And these models have become really sophisticated in recent years. And they take two primary inputs. First is the agent's current view as like a panoramic image. And then second is the direction in which it wants to explore.
So the AI is basically saying, okay, given what I see now, what would the world look like if I walked forward 10 steps?
Exactly. And what's really cool is that Genex uses this technique called spherical consistent learning. And that ensures that the generated video remains realistic and coherent, even during like really long and complex explorations. So it prevents the AI's imagined world from becoming, nonsensical or contradictory.
Right. It has to make sense. So that seems crucial for maintaining the AI's ability
Yeah,
to reason effectively about its environment.
absolutely. But here's where things get even more interesting. Genex doesn't just generate, these cool videos. It actually uses them to update the AI's belief about the world.
Now, when we talk about an AI's belief,
Yeah.
what are we really talking about?
Well, think of it as the AI's internal model of the world. It's constantly trying to figure out what's going on based on its observations and experiences. But because of this partial observability, this belief can be incomplete or even inaccurate.
So, like, it might be getting information, but that information might not be telling the whole story.
Exactly. And that's where Genex comes in. It allows the AI to use its imagined explorations to kind of refine its understanding of the world, correcting any misconceptions or filling in these gaps in its knowledge.
This kind of reminds me of the concept of a partially observable Markov decision process,
Mm-hmm.
or POMDP, which is often used in like robotics and AI planning.
You're right on. The paper actually uses the POMDP framework to
Yeah.
explain how Genex helps with this, what they call imagination-driven belief revision.
Could you maybe give us an example of how this might work in practice?
Sure. So imagine that you're building an AI system for a self-driving car, and the car is approaching an intersection, and its sensors detect a car that's stopped at a green light. Now, a human driver would likely use their imagination and past experience to kind of predict why that car might be stopped. They might think, oh, maybe there's an ambulance coming that I can't see yet.
Yeah, a human driver would mentally explore different possibilities to explain that situation.
Exactly. And that's what Genex allows an AI to do. It can imagine exploring different viewpoints, effectively seeing what that other driver sees. And that would allow it to revise its initial belief that the car shouldn't be stopped at a green light
Mm.
and make a more informed decision, like slowing down in anticipation of a potential hazard.
So Genex is essentially giving AI the ability to think more like a human driver,
Yeah.
using imagination to predict and plan in these uncertain situations.
Exactly. Yeah, and this idea becomes even more powerful when you start thinking about these multi-agent scenarios where you have multiple AI agents interacting with each other.
Yeah, because in those situations, an AI
Yeah.
not only has to understand its own environment, but also like the intentions and actions of the other agents around it. So how does Genex handle that kind of complexity?
Well, this is where it gets really fascinating. Genex allows one AI agent to mentally explore to the location of another agent. So it's kind of imagining what that other agent is seeing and potentially even thinking.
So almost like giving these AI agents a form of shared perception,
Yeah.
a way to step into each other's virtual shoes.
Exactly. And this opens up all these possibilities for cooperation and planning between AI agents.
Mhm.
For example, imagine a team of robots working together in a warehouse.
Yeah.
With Genex, they could coordinate their movements much more efficiently by understanding each other's perspectives and anticipated actions.
Yeah, that would be huge for any tasks that require that kind of collaboration and coordination.
Absolutely. And to really kind of put Genex to the test, the researchers developed two unique data sets.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. Because you can't just, train an AI to imagine things without giving it some ground truth to work with. So what can you tell us about those data sets?
Sure. So the first data set is called GenXDB, and it's a synthetic urban scene data set. So think of it as like a virtual city where these AI agents can roam freely and explore all these different scenarios. So this provides a really controlled environment for training and evaluating Genex.
So it's like a simulated playground
Yeah.
where the AI can kind of learn the ropes before it's
Brilliant.
unleashed into the real world.
Exactly, a great way to put it. And then the second data set is called Genex EQA, which stands for embodied question answering. And this data set is specifically designed to test the AI's ability to reason about its environment, other agents, and the consequences of its actions.
Okay. Embodied question answering. That sounds intriguing. Can you give us an example of what kinds of tasks this data set involves?
Sure, so imagine an AI agent. It's placed in a complex scene, like maybe a busy intersection. And it's asked a question like, if you want to reach the bookstore, what's the safest route to take, considering the movement of other cars and pedestrians?
So it's not just about, perceiving the environment. It's about understanding the dynamics of the situation
Yeah.
and making decisions based on that understanding.
Exactly. And Genex EQA is designed to evaluate how well an AI can use its imagination to answer these complex embodied questions.
So for our listeners who are AI researchers and engineers, the big question is, how well does GenX actually perform? What were some of the key findings from the research?
Well, the results were actually quite impressive. The researchers tested Genex on both synthetic data like that GenXDB and real-world data, including Google Street View and an indoor environment data set. And across the board, Genex showed really strong performance in improving the AI's ability to explore, understand its surroundings, and make better decisions.
Okay, so that's encouraging to hear. Were there any, particularly surprising or noteworthy results from these evaluations?
Well, there's one finding that I thought was particularly significant. The researchers found that humans who were given access to Genex-generated videos actually performed better in decision-making tasks, especially those that involved multiple agents.
So you're saying that GenX can actually augment human intelligence
Yeah,
and help us make better decisions in these complex situations.
exactly. By providing us with a much richer understanding of the environment and the perspectives of others, Genex can enhance our own cognitive abilities.
That's a pretty remarkable finding. It suggests that this technology has the potential to be a really powerful tool, not just for, AI development,
Yeah,
but also for like human-computer interaction and collaboration.
absolutely. And this leads us to another key takeaway from this work.
What's that?
Well, Genex isn't just about creating these cool videos or even just about improving AI performance on, specific tasks. It represents a fundamental shift in how we think about AI perception and reasoning. It's about moving towards AI systems that are more proactive, more adaptable, and ultimately more intelligent.
So moving away from AI that simply reacts to its environment
Hmm.
and towards AI that actively explores and learns about the world, much like we do as humans.
Exactly. This is a big step towards developing more general-purpose AI systems, systems that can operate effectively in a wider range of environments and solve, more diverse problems.
Now, while the paper itself is pretty technical, the authors have made their code and data sets publicly available, which is fantastic for the research community.
Absolutely. Their commitment to open science is really commendable. It allows other researchers to build upon their work, explore new applications of Genex, and contribute to the advancement of the field.
And speaking of applications, the paper briefly touches on some potential areas where GenX could have a real-world impact. What were some of the possibilities that kind of caught your eye?
Well, one of the most obvious applications, I think, is in autonomous driving. Imagine a self-driving car equipped with Genex. It could imagine exploring different routes, anticipate potential hazards, even predict the behavior of other drivers,
Hmm.
with a level of sophistication that we haven't seen before.
Right, that would be a huge leap forward in autonomous vehicle technology,
Yeah.
potentially making self-driving cars much safer and more efficient.
Exactly. And it's not just limited to, self-driving cars. Genex could be applied to robots in all sorts of domains, from manufacturing and logistics to healthcare and search and rescue. Imagine robots that can mentally explore a collapsed building to find survivors, or robots that can anticipate a patient's needs in a hospital setting.
These are all scenarios where the ability to imagine and anticipate would be incredibly valuable, enabling robots to operate more effectively and autonomously in these complex real-world environments.
Exactly, and that's why this research is so exciting. It opens up this whole world of possibilities for creating more intelligent and capable AI systems that can truly understand and interact with the world around them.
It's amazing to think about
Uh-huh.
how this kind of technology could shape the future of AI and really its impact on our lives.
Yeah, it really feels like we're getting.
At this turning point in AI,
Yeah.
where that line between perception and imagination is becoming,
Yep.
increasingly blurred.
It is a very exciting time, and this paper is really just the beginning. There's so much more that we can explore and discover when it comes to giving AI this power of imagination.
For sure. So for our listeners who are AI researchers and engineers out there,
Hmm.
what are some of you know, the open questions or areas of future research that you think are particularly promising?
Well, there are several avenues that I think are really intriguing. First, how can we make Gen X even more robust and efficient? Right now, it is computationally intensive, so finding ways to optimize its performance would be really crucial for real-world applications.
Yeah, efficiency is always a key consideration when we're talking about bringing AI research from the lab to the real world. What else?
Another interesting direction, I think, is exploring how to integrate Gen X with other AI systems, like language models and reinforcement learning agents. Imagine combining Gen X's ability to explore and understand the world with the power of language and decision-making capabilities. The possibilities are pretty much endless.
Yeah, you could have AI systems that not only perceive and reason about their environment, but can also communicate their understanding
Yeah.
and make these complex decisions based on what they've learned through imagination.
Exactly. And of course, as with any powerful technology, we need to be mindful of the ethical implications.
Mm.
As we develop these AI systems that can imagine, it's crucial to make sure that they're doing so in a way that aligns with human values and doesn't lead to any unintended consequences.
Yeah, for sure. As AI researchers and engineers,
Yeah.
we have a responsibility
Right.
to make sure that the technologies we're creating
Yeah.
are being developed and used responsibly. We need to think not just about what's possible, but also what's, desirable
Mm-hmm.
from a societal and ethical standpoint.
Definitely. Ultimately, the goal should be to use AI to augment human intelligence and capabilities, to solve problems and create a better future for all of us.
Couldn't agree more. Well, for our listeners who want to kind of dig deeper into all this,
Mm.
into this fascinating world of Gen X and imagination-driven AI, I highly recommend checking out the paper itself. The authors did a great job of explaining their work in a really clear and engaging way.
Yeah, I definitely agree. They also provide links to their code and data sets,
Right.
which is a really valuable resource for anyone who wants to explore this area of research further.
So that wraps up our deep dive into Generative World Explorer, a really groundbreaking paper that's pushing the boundaries of AI perception and reasoning.
It's been great chatting about this with you, and I hope everyone listening has gained a deeper appreciation for this power of imagination in AI and its potential to shape the future of this field.
And who knows, maybe someday soon, we'll all have these AI assistants that can not only, help us with our daily tasks, but also inspire us with their creative insights and imaginative leaps. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep imagining here